Slavic mythology, though less renowned than Greek or Norse traditions, holds equally captivating tales and deities. Among its central figures is Perun, the god of thunder, lightning, and storms. Alongside Svarog and Svetovid, he formed the Slavic trinity known as the Triglaive. Perun's immense power and commanding presence often drew parallels with Zeus from Greek mythology and Odin and Thor from Norse myths. Despite his fiery temper, Perun was a just and protective leader, embodying the ideals of a fatherly figure while defending his people. He also upheld law and order and served as the patron of soldiers and noble warriors. Armed with his mighty war axe, known as a vizila or perunets, he hurled lightning and wielded control over storms, standing as an indomitable protector from his sacred mountain abode. In addition to his role as the god of thunder, Perun was linked to natural elements like rain, wind, and fire. His influence extended to the changing seasons and Earth's fertility, making him central to agricultural life. Slavic legends often recount his epic battles with Veles, the god of the underworld and fertility. These confrontations symbolize the timeless struggle between order and chaos and reflect the cyclical nature of the seasons. To the Slavs, thunder and lightning during storms were manifestations of Perun waging war against evil forces to protect humanity, a battle he was destined to win. Perun's prominence in Slavic culture is evident in the numerous temples and shrines dedicated to him throughout the region. One notable site was Arkona Hill on an island now part of Germany, where a significant temple to Perun was destroyed by the Danes in 1168. Perun's legacy, both as a powerful deity and a guardian of justice and order, remains a cornerstone of Slavic mythology. The Slavs honored Perun with offerings to ensure protection and bountiful harvests, believing that their great deity could secure prosperity for his people. Although the worship of Perun was largely suppressed during the Christianization of Eastern Europe, his legacy endures. Many Slavs today continue to take pride in their cultural heritage and resonate with the stories of their mythological past. Among the rich tapestry of Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga stands out as a figure of both terror and intrigue. This archetypal, which of ancient Slavic culture differs greatly from her Western counterparts, who are often depicted brewing potions or flying on broomsticks. Baba Yaga's appearance is grotesque and unnerving. She has a long hooked nose, piercing and cruel eyes, deeply wrinkled skin, a frail and thin body, and a sinister smile that sends chills down the spine. She walks hunched over, feigning frailty, but this only conceals her true nature as a cannibalistic being who preys on human flesh, particularly that of young people. By consuming her victims, she is said to prolong her own lifespan. Legends describe Baba Yaga living deep within the darkest forests, where her peculiar hut stands on one or two crow's feet. Her eerie presence is marked by dark vegetation, moss, and poisonous mushrooms surrounding her home, a place even wild animals are believed to avoid. To further deter intruders, Baba Yaga decorates her dwelling with human bones, a grim reminder of the fate awaiting those who trespass. Her hut is protected by a magical spell, and it can only be entered if the proper incantation is recited. Hut, oh hut, turn your back to the forest and your front to me. Baba Yaga also has a unique mode of transport, a large wooden flying pylon, and she uses a straw broom to steer her way through the skies. Rarely leaving her domain, she ventures out only to seek new victims or gather ingredients for her sinister spells. Despite her fearsome reputation, it is said that those captured by Baba Yaga still have a chance to survive, though it requires cunning and courage to escape her clutches. This duality of horror and intrigue makes Baba Yaga an enduring figure in Slavic folklore, representing both the dangers lurking in the unknown and the resilience needed to confront them. To escape Baba Yaga's clutches, captives must often complete household tasks such as chopping wood, sweeping, or cooking. These small acts of diligence and kindness can soften her bitter heart and grant the unfortunate prisoner a chance to survive. Interestingly, Baba Yaga is not always portrayed as a villain. In certain stories, she takes on a maternal role, aiding those who have been wronged or downtrodden. Many people in folklore sought Baba Yaga's assistance, whether for protection charms or healing spells. However, approaching her always came with significant risk, as trusting the old witch too much could lead to dire consequences. The origins of the Baba Yaga legend are unclear, though she is rooted in ancient pagan beliefs and likely evolved over time. Despite the mystery surrounding her beginnings, Baba Yaga remains a significant figure in Slavic culture, preserving the rich traditions and stories of the past. Another prominent figure in Slavic mythology is Murana, also known as Marzana, the goddess of death and the harsh, unforgiving winters. She is associated with the cyclical nature of life and the agrarian rites, symbolizing death and rebirth in nature. Comparisons are often drawn between Murana and deities like the Greek Hecate or the Roman Ceres. According to legend, Murana was once the lover of Dasbad, the sun god, but when he abandoned her for another, she sought revenge. Dasbad retaliated by burning her and banishing her to Nav, the Slavic underworld. There, Murana became the goddess of death, embodying the deadly cold and famine of winter that brought suffering to both humans and livestock. Her presence was feared, while the arrival of spring, signaling the defeat of winter, was celebrated with joy. One of the most notable rituals associated with Murana is the drowning of Marzana, a celebration marking the end of winter. In this ceremony, a straw effigy of Morana, another of her names, was burned and then drowned in a river or lake. This symbolic act represented the expulsion of winter and the welcoming of spring, bringing renewal and hope for the new year. In addition to these figures, Slavic mythology also features the Zmei, a fearsome dragon common in Russian folklore. Known as Zmei Gorinik, these massive creatures possess scaly bodies, enormous wings, and fiery breath. What makes them even more menacing is their ability to shape-shift into human form, allowing them to deceive and wreak havoc with greater cunning. Their presence in myth adds an element of awe and danger, reflecting the Slavic people's reverence and fear of nature's untamed power. The Zmei is a malevolent and crafty creature affiliated with chaos, destruction, and greed, and like its equivalents in other traditions, takes center stage in legends and folk tales. One legend has it that Zmei had several heads, usually 3 or 7, and each could regenerate if cut off, resembling the Hydra of Greek mythology. The dragon tormented kingdoms, burned villages, gobbled up livestock, and demanded human sacrifices to spare the kingdoms from total annihilation. Some tales claim that a brave and heroic knight called Dobrynya Nikitic took on the mighty Zmei, as he had the noble duty of saving the princess of Kiev. Following 3 days of epic battles and encounters, the knight succeeded in defeating the dragon. The battle between the noble knight and the dragon depicts the perpetual struggle between good and evil, order and chaos. The dragon, acting as a force of destruction, is opposed to the hero, who symbolizes courage, responsibility, and justice. Zimi was a treasure keeper in other tales, and the hero who defeated him would gain access to all his secret wealth. Many stories feature adventurers or heroes attempting to steal or lay claim to Zmei's treasure. These quests are rife with pitfalls, riddles, and challenges. Brute force alone cannot be enough to overcome a Zmei. Intelligence, resourcefulness, or an insight into ancient magical traditions are often required. Despite their vicious appearance, not all Zmei are evil. In fact, like many dragons around the world, they are ambiguous in nature. Zmei can fall in love with a mortal woman, and after changing into human form, he attempts to win her over. However, such love stories between dragons and mortals often have tragic consequences. As a mythological character, Zimi bears many meanings. In Slavic culture, it can represent primordial chaos, untamed forces of nature, or the challenges that humans must face to reach maturity and wisdom. There are other contexts in which they are viewed as symbols of protection and power. The figure of the Zmei is still a mighty symbol of danger, guile, and the battle between good and evil. His stories are still passed down from generation to generation, preserving the prolific cultural heritage of the Slavic people. Slavs worshipped Svarog as the great blacksmith and celestial fire god. He was likened to the Greek Hephaestus. He was the source of all heat and light. The god had a pivotal position in the daily lives of the ancient Slavs, particularly as the patron saint of blacksmiths and metalworkers. As the sky-fire god, he was viewed as a source of wisdom and enlightenment, his light bringing knowledge and understanding to the world. Svarog was also regarded as a creator deity, in charge of bringing the world and all living things into being together with the god rod. The myth goes that Svarog forged the sun out of alder stone and gifted it to his son Desbog, who would become the sun god. He then created all the other Slavic gods from the sparks of his hammer hand, assigned them their purposes. A divine blacksmith, he wrought lightning and helped the god Purin in his struggle against the god Veles. Svarog's cult was widespread among all the Slavic tribes, but following the rise of Christianity, it waned. Today, while Svarog is not widely worshipped, his legacy lives on in Slavic folklore. The Sagalov is a deranged mythical creature from Slavic folklore. Its name is literally translated as doghead in Slavic languages, especially in the Balkan region. The Sagalov possesses the head of a dog, generally with a single eye in the center of its forehead, and has iron hooves instead of feet. Its body resembles that of a human, although it may have some animalistic traits. The creature is frequently depicted with an untidy mane, underlining its monstrous appearance. The Sagalov is a menacing figure, notorious for its aggressive tendencies. It wanders through dark and remote locations, such as dense forests, bleak wastelands, as well as graveyards and caves. It may be seen as a gatekeeper to these mysterious sites, frightening and intimidating anyone who dares to venture nearby. The gloves are depicted in folklore as scavengers, preying on the deceased. Their association with death and subterranean dwellings connects them to funerary rituals and afterlife concepts in some Slavic traditions. The Sagla figure stands as an expression of human fears and anxieties related to death and the unknown. Its grotesque look and scavenging behavior make it a cautionary figure, warning people about the consequences of veering off the right path or not abiding by death-related rituals and traditions. The Saglav may be seen as a portrayal of uncontrollable and beastly urges or traits in human nature. This idea of a creature part man and part beast can represent the tension between civility and savagery. A Slavic mythical creature, Liko, stands for bad luck, misfortune, and chaos. The Slavs thought that seeing a Liko was a sign of a bad omen, as it could bring great harm and curses upon individuals or communities. The creature is traditionally depicted with a horrible, spooky appearance and only one eye. Liko's presence is usually paired with natural calamities such as storms, crop failures, and other forms of misfortune. Liko is known to punish those who are arrogant, liars, or otherwise disrespectful to others. The creature also acts as a warning bell, warning people of the consequences of their actions and the importance of being humble, honest, and kind. Liko in Slavic folklore is not merely a monster or evil creature with intentions of harming human beings for the sake of it. Rather, it represents the unavoidable nature of bad luck and the inevitable nature of ill fortune in human life. It reminds us that, regardless of how well we plan or how carefully we live our lives, misfortune can strike us at any time. Devana was a significant goddess in the Slavic pantheon, revered for her association with the wilderness, forests, hunting, and the moon. The early Slavic peoples and various Slavic tribes in Eastern Europe held her in high esteem and worshipped her. Devana was a deity known for safeguarding the natural world and its inhabitants, including animals. She was referred to as the mother of the forest and was likened to the Roman goddess Diana. Devana is often described as having wild and vigorous features. She is portrayed as a self-sufficient woman who is frequently seen with untamed creatures, particularly wolves and birds of prey like hawks or owls. Her association with a bow and arrows is often noted, which signifies her position as a goddess of the hunt. Devana rules over the dense woods. According to legend, She wandered in the Slavic woodlands, safeguarding its flora and fauna. She was often invoked by hunters to bless and assist them during their expeditions. Even today, people hold the goddess in high esteem as a representation of nature and the significance of safeguarding it. A well-known god in the Slavic mythology pantheon is Striborg, the deity of air and winds. He is often associated with the east wind, regarded as the most powerful and important of the winds in Slavic culture. He is portrayed as an old man with a long beard, blowing his magic horn to generate wind. Legend has it that Striborg created the winds, and all these were his children and grandchildren. The god was highly worshipped by fishermen, sailors, and people who lived near the rivers. Striborg could initiate or terminate a storm, owing to his ability to control the weather. He would help create favorable weather conditions for agriculture and the whole cyclical life nature. The god was repeatedly called upon to help bring winds to navigation, or to chase away negative energies. He was believed to possess the power to cleanse and purify them. Air, being summoned to protect against illness and disease. Notwithstanding cultural and religious changes over the centuries, Striborg remains an important figure in Slavic culture, symbolizing the power and unpredictability of wind and air. A myth has haunted the local population for generations in the dense forests of ancient Slavia, a creature known as Drekovac. This mythical being, which has its origins in Serbian and Balkan folklore, is a fearsome and malevolent entity, assuming different forms depending on the region. Its name comes from the Serbian word drakati, which means to scream. Generally, the Drekovac is the troubled spirit of an unbaptized child who died before receiving the baptismal sacrament. As a result of that tragic existence, they return to the world of the living, causing fear and destruction. Other versions of the myth assert that Drekovac is the spirit of a child who is either conceived out of marriage or abandoned by their parents. A Drekovac looks hideous, with glowing red eyes and a deformed, twisted body. Their cries are loud and terrifying, resembling the wail of an anguished baby or a tormented animal, prompting tales that the Drekovac is a foreshadowing of death or an impending tragedy. On quiet nights in the Balkans, a piercing, mournful cry is said to echo through the forests, chilling all who hear it. This eerie sound, so unsettling that it could freeze one's blood, is linked to the legend of the Drekovac. Those who hear the cry are often overwhelmed by a profound sense of despair, as if the creature's own tragic fate is embedded in the sound. The Drekovac is believed to be drawn to households with newborn babies, especially unbaptized ones, seeking to claim their souls. To protect against this malevolent spirit, people would employ various methods, such as marking crosses on doors and windows, placing garlic or sacred objects around their homes, and performing prayers or rituals to ward off the creature. Though the legend of the Drekovac has been passed down through generations, it has adapted to reflect the diverse cultural and local traditions of the region. While modern times may have distanced many from such superstitions, the story of the Drekovac remains a vital part of Balkan folklore, preserving the region's rich cultural heritage. Another haunting figure from Slavic mythology is the Rusalka, a water spirit rooted in the folklore of Eastern Europe, particularly in countries like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and Poland. Rusalkas are depicted as young, ethereal women with flowing hair and pale skin, dwelling in lakes and rivers. Known for their enchanting voices, they use their song to lure unsuspecting humans, especially men, into the water. The myth of the Rusalka is tinged with sorrow. These spirits are said to be the souls of young women who died tragically or violently, often through drowning or heartbreak caused by unrequited love or betrayal. As such, they are imbued with an air of melancholy and longing, symbolizing grief and unfulfilled desires. Encounters with the Rusalka in folklore vary in outcome. Some individuals are captivated by her beauty and voice, leading to love or obsession. However, such encounters can turn deadly, as the Rusalka is also known to pull her victims into the water's depths, drowning them. These myths of the Drekavac and Rusalka not only embody the fears and emotions of past generations, but also highlight the richness and complexity of Slavic and Balkan cultural traditions. Festivals and celebrations to honor Rusalka are still held in some regions, frequently featuring folk dances, songs, and theatrical performances depicting the interaction between Rusalki and humans. These events are meant to pay tribute to these water spirits and preserve a bond with traditional folklore. Vesna was, in ancient Slavic mythology, the goddess of spring, fertility, and love. She was primarily associated with the blossoming of flowers, the return of warmth, and the renewal of life after the cold, dark months of winter. Vesna was intimately tied to the rituals following Mirana's death and the end of winter. She could not exist without them, and both goddesses could not be in the same place at the same time. Being Mirana's opposite, Vesna was depicted as beautiful, teeming, and fertile. The goddess carried a bouquet of flowers and an egg as a symbol of fertility. She had the power to bring abundance to the earth and people's lives. According to legend, Vesna was the goddess of passion and romance and could bring new love into people's lives or revive existing relationships. She is often called upon at weddings and union ceremonies, symbolizing fertility and the promise of a prosperous future. While Vesna's cult has remained strong over the centuries, her role and influence were gradually adjusted and incorporated into Christian traditions after the Christianization of the Slavic peoples. Nevertheless, her legacy as the revered goddess of spring persists and serves as a reminder of how important it is to value renewal and the beauty of the nature surrounding us. Svedovitz is a deity in Slavic mythology who is associated with war, fertility, and abundance. He has 4 heads, each one facing a different side of the world, representing his all-knowing nature. The deity is commonly portrayed holding either a sword or a bow in one hand, which are symbols of protection and warfare, while the other hand holds a drinking horn, a symbol of abundance and fertility. Svedovit was revered in multiple, significant temples, each of which was guarded by over 100 men. Each temple housed the treasure of a particular tribe. This deity is widely recognized through his notable depictions, particularly on the island of Rügen in the Baltic Sea, where a grand temple was constructed in his honor. It featured a sacred statue of Svedovit with 4 heads, along with a sacred drinking horn. Until the 12th century, the location served as the focal point for pagan celebrations and ceremonies. However, it was destroyed during the Christianization of the region. One of the most famous myths surrounding Svedovit pertains to its sacred horn. This horn was perpetually filled with wine and was cared for by priests at its temple located on the island of Rügen. The horn served as a tool for divination, in which priests would observe the level of wine within it to predict the upcoming harvest abundance and the likelihood of war. Furthermore, there was an annual grand feast organized in honor of Svedovit on the island of Rügen. As part of the festivities, a procession was held to carry a sacred horse that was dedicated to Svedovit and kept within the temple. Svedovit is believed to have been the god of horses, and the manner in which the horse walked during the procession was considered to be a sign of what was to come in the following year. The favor of the god Svedovit was crucial for achieving victory in battles, successful merchant expeditions, and a bountiful harvest. Although Slavic folklore is littered with creepy and dangerous critters, good-hearted beings and entities also abound, including the Domovoi, also known as the Domovic, a mythical domestic creature from the prolific Slavic folklore, who traditionally forms a bond with a particular family in their home. The legends suggest that Domovoi is a small human-like creature with a long white beard and glowing eyes. He resembles a tiny old man wearing peasant clothes. Regardless of his small size, the Domovoi has great strength and magical abilities, allowing him to protect the house and its inhabitants. Slavs believe that Domovoi is a kindly man who looks after the well-being of the family living in the house he inhabits. He keeps watch over the house, especially at night, making sure it is in order. He is especially fond of children and often helps with household chores, like sweeping the floor or looking after the livestock. While Domovoi is generally kind and helpful, he can also be mischievous and sensitive. He requires respect from his family and expects them to keep a clean and tidy house. When the family treats him well, this leads to prosperity and protection. If he feels neglected, mistreated, or offended, he can become troublesome and malicious. When a family moves to a new house, they should invite the domovoi from their previous home to join them. For this, they would take a piece of the old house, such as a brick or a handful of earth, and put it in a principal place in their new home, as a symbol of the domovoi's transition to the new house. Building a new house on top of an old one was considered bad luck, as it could disturb the existing domovoi, leading to misfortune for the new occupants. The domovoi is deeply ingrained in Slavic culture and continues to be a meaningful part of the region's folklore and tradition. Leshy, a mythical creature known as the forest guardian, dwelt in the deep and mystical forests of Eastern Europe. He was both revered and dreaded by those who set foot in his domain. Leshy is a towering and commanding figure, depicted as a long-bearded humanoid with green eyes glowing like embers. Yet, despite his daunting appearance, Leshy had an uncanny ability to blend in with his forest surroundings, making him almost invisible to the uneducated eye. He protected all animals and plants living in the forest, safeguarding their well-being and harmony. Hunters, woodcutters, and wanderers who stepped into his domain had to show respect for nature and its creatures, or else they would risk angering him. Ancient folklore claimed that Leshy could change shape in many different forms. He could be anything, from a towering giant to a tiny insect, or even the rustle of the wind in the trees. His main goal was to keep the forest in balance and teach humans a lesson if they behaved unwisely or disrespected nature. One of Leshy's best-known abilities was his knack for luring people off the safe paths and into the very heart of the forest. Once lost in the labyrinthine forest, he would play tricks on them, driving them in circles. Leshy's giggling echoed through the trees as he teased his unwitting guests, making them both scared and puzzled. But Leshy was not necessarily evil. He could be kind to those who respected and honored nature. Some tales even spoke of him steering lost travelers back to safety, especially if they exhibited a genuine understanding and appreciation for the beauty of the forest. Those who met Leshy would often leave bread, honey, or tobacco offerings near the entrance to the forest as a sign of respect and gratitude. They hoped that such gifts would earn them the creature's favor and protection during their time in the forest. As the world grew more modern and urbanization invaded the once vast forests, Leshy's presence seemed to disappear. With fewer untouched wilderness sites, stories and encounters with the Leshy became rarer. But its legend lingers in the hearts of those who cherished natural world's untamed beauty. Makash is the mother goddess of the Slavic pantheon. She was worshipped as the protector of women's fate and labor. She oversaw spinning and weaving, the shearing of sheep, and protected women in childbirth. Her name related to water, and for this reason, her protection was sought by sailors. Depicted as a motherly figure, constantly holding a rattle or a spindle and surrounded by animals, Makash was deemed a benevolent and powerful deity who conferred many blessings on women and protected their families. She was adored as a fertility booster and guaranteed good crops. At harvest celebrations, animal sacrifices and food, such as grain and bread, were commonly offered to express gratitude to Makash for her generosity and to ask for future protection and prosperity. Some legends have it that the goddess would transform herself into a ram and offer her vast wool to the weavers. In other myths, the goddess was also affiliated with the cycle of life and death, usually connected to the cycles of the seasons. Makash was thought to preside over the Slavic underworld and was called upon in funerary rites to guide the souls of the dead into the afterlife. Many ancient myths associate the goddess with a thunder god named Purin, and she would plead with her husband to provide the rain needed for crops. Deeply venerated among the Slavic peoples, her legacy continues to live on in the customs and traditions of modern Slavic cults. In Slavic mythology, Chernobog is the embodiment of darkness, death, and malevolence. His name, meaning black god, signifies his association with chaos, misfortune, and wickedness. As a deity, He is blamed for tragedies and calamities in the world. Chernobog is often depicted as a tall, menacing figure with horns and glowing red eyes. Clad in black, he wields a staff or scythe as symbols of death and destruction. His presence is associated with ravens, wolves, and the color black, all representing evil and darkness. Chernobog's counterpart is his brother, Belbog, whose name translates to white god or god of light. Belbog symbolizes goodness, life, prosperity, and happiness. He is depicted as a tall, benevolent figure with golden hair and bright blue eyes, dressed in white garments that radiate purity and kindness, often shown carrying a staff or hammer, symbols of creation and vitality. Belbog rides a white horse, which represents light and virtue in Slavic culture. The dynamic between Chernobog and Belbog reflects the balance of the universe. Chernobog's reign begins at the winter solstice and ends at the summer solstice, marking the period of darkness in the year. The winter solstice is believed to be the day of battle between the two brothers, where Belbog inevitably prevails, ushering in the reign of light. While the Slavs saw darkness as a natural and essential part of existence, they celebrated the triumph of light over darkness, viewing this duality as vital to the cosmic order. In Polish folklore, the Stryga is a terrifying mythological creature that blends elements of a vampiric demon and a shapeshifter. It is a pale, eerie being with glowing eyes and an insatiable hunger for human flesh and blood, especially that of children and lone travelers. The Stryga is known for its ability to transform into animals, often an owl with human features or a large and menacing bird of prey. This shape-shifting ability allows it to disguise its true nature, making it a more effective hunter. The Stryga is a nocturnal predator, lurking in the darkest parts of forests and abandoned buildings. It waits in shadows to ambush unsuspecting victims, using methods of attack that are as horrifying as they are deadly. The Stryga's legend reflects the deep fear of the unknown and the dangers of the night, serving as a cautionary tale for those who wander into perilous places after dark. Both Chernobog and the Stryga embody the darker aspects of Slavic mythology, reinforcing themes of balance, caution, and respect for the natural and supernatural world. The Stryga soars high into the sky, then lunges at its victim, ripping it apart with its razor-sharp claws. Many legends claim that they can also consume the life force or souls of their victims. As legends have it, the Stryga stems from individuals who have been wicked or committed great sins during their lives. After their death, they can be damned to become Strygas and continue their evil deeds from beyond the grave. Strygas appear in Slavic folklore, especially in Poland, Ukraine, and other Eastern European countries. The Stryga is a night creature, a monster that hides in the shadows and attacks when one least expects it. This facet of the Stryga legend reflects our primal dread of the unknown. As we fear what lurks in the shadows, we are afraid of what we cannot understand. The Stryga, with its uncertain and ambiguous nature, is symbolic of these fears and the uncertainty we feel when confronting the unknown. Vukadlak is a term used in several Slavic cultures, such as Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, referring to a werewolf-like creature in Western folklore. Its name essentially means wolf's fur. In Slavic mythology, a Vukadlak is a shape-shifting creature, frequently associated with individuals who have been cursed, possessed by dark forces, or also black magic or some kind of divine punishment. People can also become Vukadlaks after being bitten by another Vukadlak or other means of infection. These individuals turn into wolf-like creatures during the full moon or certain ritualistic practices, or by pronouncing specific incantations. The Slavs thought that the transformation was involuntary, and when transformed, the Vukadlaks would become aggressive and wild, often attacking cattle or people. They were seen as malevolent and dangerous beings, feared by local communities. The methods for breaking the curse could include finding and killing the original Vukadlak that was responsible for the curse, or using rituals and magical remedies. The Vukadlak reflects the deepest shadows of the human soul. It embodies our deepest, gloomiest fears, such as loss of control, becoming a monster, and the need to use violence. Just as the wolf howls at the moon, the Vukodlak howls at the inner darkness we all harbor. Kapala is a deity in Slavic mythology associated with fertility, water, and happiness. She was traditionally attached to the festivities of the summer solstice, organized to pay tribute to her and guarantee a prosperous harvest. The deity was closely associated with the natural world, specifically with bodies of water and vegetation. Kapala had the ability to manipulate the growth of plants and improve soil fertility. Due to her association with water, she was considered a guardian of rivers, lakes, and springs. Additionally, people would sometimes call upon her for the purpose of healing. Legend has it that Kapala used to manifest near water bodies and bestow blessings of abundance and fertility upon people. Elaborate rituals and games were traditionally held to celebrate the summer solstice in honor of the goddess Kapala. The Slavs would perform dances around bonfires as they held. The belief that these could cleanse and purify. To ensure a happy marriage in the future and bring good luck, they would jump over the flames. People used to throw wreaths of flowers into rivers or lakes to get rid of negative energy or diseases and bring good luck and health to themselves. According to the ancient Slavic mythology, Veles was a forest deity with the ability to shapeshift into various forms. He was described as a horned deity, resembling the Greek deity Pan or the Celtic deity Cernunnos. Veles, the ruler of the Slavic underworld, was often linked with Zaltis, the enormous serpent that coiled around the world tree due to its shape-shifting abilities. Veles ruled the spirits in the realm of the dead. He served as both the protector and guide for those traveling to the afterlife. Veles was not only known as the god of death, but also as the god of animal husbandry, animal fertility, and the protector of domestic animals. He was also associated with the natural world. Farmers and shepherds would often call upon him to ensure a bountiful harvest and protect their flocks. Veles was considered the primary adversary of Perun, the Slavic god of thunder and lightning in the Slavic pantheon. Mythology states that both gods engaged in a fierce battle to gain control over the earth and the heavens. As per the myth, Veles is said to have stolen both the cattle and wife of Perun. The serpent's action led him to pursue it around the entire planet. Perun attempted to strike Veles with his thunderbolts, while the latter managed to hide. According to Slavic mythology, Veles was believed to be present where lightning struck. Perun, the god of thunder, was known for his ability to defeat Veles, the god of the underworld. Despite Veles' repeated returns to the land of the living, Perun always managed to vanquish him. The story can be interpreted as a representation of the ongoing conflict between order, represented by Perun, and chaos, represented by Veles. Although chaos continually arises to challenge it, order eventually prevails. The charming Samadiva are mythical creatures found in Bulgarian, Serbian, and Slavic folklore. They are depicted as beautiful nymphs or female spirits affiliated with nature, especially forests, rivers, and meadows. Samadiva are also associated with the turning of the seasons, particularly spring and summer. Their presence is perceived as a sign of the awakening and blossoming of nature. Samadiva are alluring and graceful beings with long flowing hair, clad in ethereal white robes. They are skilled dancers and musicians. Their bewitching melodies and mesmerizing dances attract and hypnotize those who meet them. Slavs consider Samadiva to be most attractive at night, especially under the moonlight. They gather on full moon nights to dance and celebrate their secret meetings in the deepest part of the woods. While Samadiva can be kind and bestow favors on those who show them respect and kindness, they have also been known to inflict punishment on those who harm nature or disrespect them or their domains. In some tales, they can divert travelers, strike down diseases, or bring misfortune to those who offend them. Samadiva's legends and stories often involve encounters with humans, especially young men who become infatuated with their charms. These encounters may lead to both joy and sorrow, as human interactions with Samadiva can have unpredictable results. Vojanoi is a male water spirit. He presents a powerful and cryptic figure associated with bodies of water, such as rivers, lakes, and ponds. Legend has it that Vujanoi resides in the deepest parts of rivers and lakes, lording over the water and all the creatures within it. He dominates the water, having the ability to control its levels, currents, and even the weather. Vujanoi is believed to be whimsical and erratic, sometimes benevolent and helpful to fishermen and sailors, but also cruel and vengeful against those who violate or harm his waters. If one does venture into his waters, that person must respect him and ask his permission to fish or swim. Disregarding these habits can anger the water spirit, leading to terrible consequences. Vojanij will drag contemptuous people underwater, drowning them or taking them to his underwater kingdom, where they will be imprisoned forever. Vojanij, for all his sinister reputation, is also seen as a keeper of nature and a personification of the life-giving powers of water. Some stories have him teaching people the importance of caring for the environment and its creatures. Some tales even imply that he can offer gifts or blessings to those who soothe him through offerings or compliments. His stories are still passed down from generation to generation, safeguarding the prolific folklore and cultural heritage of the Slavic people. Baba Roga is a Slavic witch-like folk figure with several outstanding supernatural abilities. She is found in Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, and Bulgarian folklore, and has a certain resemblance to Russia's infamous Baba Yaga. Baba Roga is an old, ugly lady with disheveled hair, long nails, and a horn stuck in the middle of her forehead. She is dressed in ragged clothes, enhancing her terrifying image. According to some stories, she only has one eye and may have iron teeth. Baba Roga is renowned for her malicious and deceptive nature. She lives hidden away in dark and isolated locations such as forests, caves, or derelict buildings. Her tales often act as warning signs for children, alerting them to behave and stay away from unsafe places. Slavic people claim that she has various supernatural powers, including shape-shifting. Baba Roga is a notorious figure in Slavic folklore, known for her cunning and malevolent nature. She is a shapeshifter who can take on various guises to deceive and capture her victims. In some stories, Baba Roga appears as a stunningly beautiful young woman, using her allure to lure unsuspecting individuals into her trap. However, her most infamous role is that of a kidnapper and child eater. She targets disobedient or misbehaving children, abducting them, and taking them to her hidden lair. Baba Roga employs clever tricks to draw children closer, and once they are within reach, she captures them. Parents often use the legend of Baba Roga to warn children against wandering alone or venturing into unfamiliar places, emphasizing the importance of staying close to family and respecting elders. These tales are passed down through generations, serving as both entertainment and a moral lesson, teaching children to avoid danger and value obedience. In Slavic mythology, the Zarya sisters are celestial goddesses associated with the stars and the balance between light and darkness. Zarya Utranyaya, the goddess of dawn, represents light, renewal, and regeneration. She is linked to the morning star, symbolizing new beginnings and life. In contrast, her sister, Zarya Vetranyaya, is associated with the evening star, darkness, and the passage of time. Together, they embody the cyclical nature of life and death. A significant part of their legend involves their role as guardians of Samargal, the doomsday dog, who is chained to the Big Dipper constellation. The Zarya sisters vigilantly watch over the chain that binds Samargal, ensuring it does not break free and unleash apocalyptic chaos. Their unwavering watch symbolizes their importance in maintaining cosmic order and preventing destruction. The Zarya sisters also reflect the duality of existence. The morning star heralds the start of a new day and the promise of life, while the evening star marks the end of the day, signifying rest, transition, and the inevitability of time. Their stories, deeply embedded in Slavic folklore, underscore the balance between light and darkness and the eternal cycle of creation and destruction.